Hey, yo, say hello to the bad guy, Scott Hall, and I've got a scoop for you. And we all know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I encourage you to check out this one. It's called Going In Raw. You heard it here first. Going In Raw.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the twitch.tv/Steven Larson. Thank you so much to all the friendos for hanging out with us on the Twitch. Day 1, over 16,000. Day 2, undetermined, don't know yet, because we're still rolling doing this podcast right here. But it seemed like we had a really, really large crowd today as well. And it was a ton of fun. WrestleMania, especially night 2, tonight, ups and downs. There was some wildly entertaining stuff, and then some stuff that might have should have probably been on a Raw or SmackDown. Not all that exciting.
Yeah.
But throughout, we got the friendos with us, so if something isn't as exciting, we could just sit here and make fun of stuff.
Just
we
laugh
could
and
shit
and talk about the stuff. And it just makes, we always kind of approach these watch-alongs like, hey, we're all just friends watching the show together.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're a group of friends watching a show together and something's just not working for you, the conversation.
What do you do?
Things.
Exactly. You just start talking some shit. So yeah, a lot of fun. Thanks so much to the friendos for hanging out.
Yes.
Thanks so much to the Enforcer for hanging out with us on both days.
Thank you to our mods. We have the absolute best mods in the business. The absolute best.
Not even close.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so there was Mania 38, Night 2.
WrestleMania 2, King Kong Bundy.
That was a long time ago. I remember renting that on VHS, too.
WrestleMania 38, Night 2.
Yes, Sunday.
Like I sort of alluded to, Larson, I felt like there were a couple of really, really entertaining things. Namely, the Knoxville Zayn match was wildly hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the entire debacle of the Pat McAfee, Austin Theory, Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee,
Yeah.
and then Stone Cold Steve Austin
Yeah.
stunning everybody and laughing his ass off the entire time. We were all really into that. It was hilarious. It was the absurdity of pro wrestling just right there.
Yeah.
And you had said this best. They brought the stuff that only WWE can do.
This is the show that shows what only WWE can do. You have the massive spectacle. Night 2, more so than Night 1, was more sports entertainment.
Mm-hmm,
You had the Knoxville Zayn match. You had the McAfee stuff with Theory and McMahon. They built and they build this main event tonight of Night 2 as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time.
Yeah.
It didn't exactly live up to the billing.
No.
It wasn't that different from any other Brock and Roman match. I was hoping now that Roman has this new iteration of his character he's been doing for almost 2 years now, year and a half-ish, that they would approach the match differently. But it's still the same idea that you have two final bosses, essentially, fighting, and then all they do is just mash the finisher button. And it's just, like signature finish, with none of the story beats in between. And so the matches always, to me, feel kind of hollow because, I don't know, it just feels like everything's rushed.
There's no look, man. They have a formula for Brock versus Roman, and it's exactly as you described, finisher heavy. And they seem to not want to stray away from that, with the exception now, obviously, Roman's a bad guy. So as soon as there's a ref bump or a distraction, he looks for a way to be a bad guy, to get the advantage by any means necessary. In this case, obviously he did the low blow at one point. And the shot to the head with the title as well. Mm-hmm. And they tend not to stray from that formula, regardless now of the roles being reversed. And it is a bit disappointing, and it didn't feel like the biggest match of all time because of that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I understand kind of what they're getting at. This is sort of a, financially anyways, a peak for WWE because they are making money hand over fist. Brock and Roman are, I don't even think without argument, the biggest stars that they've been able to create over the past 5-10 years. And so I could see that title for title, who's going to be the unified title. technically I could see how this would be the biggest match of all time. It didn't live up to the billing, the actual meat of the match, and we got what we figured we'd get: Roman with both titles, and to end the show,
so,
and nothing else to end.
That's
the
what
show.
I was going to say. No, this will be absent from that because we were thinking, how are they going to up the ante or at least match what Night 1 did? Because Night 1 had a little bit of everything. It had a lot of really great wrestling. You had the Stone Cold stuff at the end with Kevin Owens, which was very sports entertainment, but tons of fun. Mm-hmm. You had Cody re-debuting in WWE, making his return.
Yeah.
By and large, got a very positive reception. And I think people, we saw this in chat, people were worried, well, how is Night 2 going to match Night 1? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that popped in a lot of people's head, myself included, was like, oh, they must have The Rock ready to do a post-match angle with Roman. Mm-hmm. And so we were waiting. Roman goes up the ramp, get the pyro, he's holding the belts. They have the little copyright thing in the corner. Mm-hmm. They didn't go off air right away, and especially watching takeovers for a stretch, they'd have the copyright thing in the corner, and then you have this huge post-match angle happen.
Yeah, right.
And no, it just held on Roman, and then Brock was looking sad, and then it faded out. And you're like, okay, well, it ended.
Yeah. I mean, there were the whole Austin McMahon thing I thought was really, really wildly fun, and that was enough for me to justify. Okay, that was unexpected. It was something that you figure even if you have all these bits in place, you have the idea or the possibility that Shane might be coming in, which I'm curious to know what the real story on that reporting was.
Oh, he was just there at the Hall of Fame.
Oh, was he actually there at the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he's just at the Hall of Fame. That's all it was.
Interesting they would just bring him into the Hall of Fame, though. I mean,
I don't know if he was necessarily brought in for the Hall of Fame or he just wanted to go to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm curious what that deal was.
Yeah.
And so, you think, okay, he might show up. And even though you understand that these pieces might come into play, the idea that Vince McMahon is going to rip off his shirt and have a tank top on, you have to see it to believe it. Even if you know it's going to happen, it's like, wait, really? This is going to be kind of nuts. And it was kind of nuts, and it was a lot of fun. And so, even knowing all that stuff, it was wildly entertaining. And so that was something that when you look on paper, when we looked at it on paper beforehand, we have all this stuff. It doesn't look all that great. Well, we had that, and that was wildly entertaining. But we didn't have the big emotional match that we had last night with Becky and Bianca.
Yeah.
This night was lacking.
It really was.
It
really was. And I was hoping that's how they would approach Brock and Roman, given their history, given just the recent developments, their story. They've been telling the story since the end of last year. This was, I would assume, the culmination of it. This is when you get to some sort of weighty emotional stuff that you got there. You got Heyman out there. Like, part of me wonders if they had to change the timeline of the story, if the swerve with Heyman, after aligning with Brock, and then, then he betrays Brock to help Roman win, was supposed to happen at Mania. And it didn't. It happened earlier. So that kind of felt like that kind of last piece of the story to coincide with Roman's win didn't happen. And so you don't get that moment.
Yeah. I don't know what was supposed to happen, what wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, I don't know either.
What we got tonight, it did. It was like, I don't know. I don't want to say it felt like an obligation. There is the big question of where does Roman go from now? I don't know what, I mean, has WrestleMania and Backlash? I mean, a lot of the shows for this year have been.
Yeah, they announced WrestleMania Backlash already.
Okay, yeah.
I can find the date and just give me a second. Sometime in May, I would assume.
So yeah, I mean, what went down was what we expected to go down. But yeah, there were no really big story beats that we figured might happen.
May
8th. Okay, so just over a month from now. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe him and Brock will run it back. I don't know. Brock on Pat McAfee's show seemed to indicate that he likes doing this and he wants to stick around and do it. But maybe that just means he wants to show up 4 times a year. Maybe that's his version of being into it. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. We could just run through it and we'll see. What. But I mean, it was. I'll put it this way. WrestleMania Night 2, 38 Night 2. Exceeded my expectations for entertainment, but none of the matches exceeded any of my expectations for what they could be. The Gable Steveson bit was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. I mean, that's a WrestleMania moment. That's not something that you'd see on a Raw necessarily.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
So we'll get into it. Show opens up. Triple H. He gets the music. He comes down, spits water everywhere, gets in the ring.
Bow down to the king.
He's got his boots, his wrestling boots. So he puts them down in the middle of the ring.
He's got his boots with him. Yeah.
He throws up a 2 Sweet for the crowd. And he says, I just want to come out and say thank you and to show the fans love the best way I know how. Welcome to WrestleMania. Bunch of pyro goes off. He leaves. His boots are there. And we start the show.
Yeah, it was a wonderful way to kick things off. Obviously he's been through a lot over the past year or so, really. I mean, with all the NXT stuff. And then of course, his heart issues. So it was great. It was great to see him there. And then yeah, he left his boots in the ring. So yeah, that it felt it. I wonder if this was a good moment for him just to get that closure, just to get that,
Yeah.
That was a nice moment right there.
It was.
Show kicked off with RK Bro. Once again, no kickoff show matches. So the show kicked off with RK Bro versus Street Profits versus Alpha Academy for the Raw tag titles. Before the match, it was noted that Gable Steveson was there watching front row. And look, this was a really fun match.
It was good.
Nothing that felt necessary besides the post-match stuff with Gable Steveson. Nothing really felt like this couldn't be top of the second hour match on Raw or a Raw opener.
It was very like RK Bro tag matches follow a very specific pattern. Riddle gets some stuff in. He is isolated for 60% of the match. Orton gets the hot tag, goes on a run, and the only unknown variable is if they hit RKOs to win or not. That's pretty much it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. In this instance, they did, both in fairly spectacular fashion. So Dawkins hits Orton with a spine buster. He takes out Otis with a tope over the top. So Ford goes up top, setting up for the frog splash, and then Riddle hits a springboard RKO on him, and he tumbles to the floor. And so Gable... he jumps off the top. Orton gets up. Bang. RKO for him. Pins him to get the win. Really spectacular sequence.
It was a really fun finish. But then most of their matches on Raw have really cool finishes. Like there's always some variation of like Orton doing one of Riddle's moves. Riddle's doing RKO. They're doing something crazy. So look, this was a lot of fun. But it was kind of no different than anything we'd see on Raw. So afterwards, of course, now that the battle for the titles is over, Street Profits are like, hey, RK Bro, let's toast. Let's have the drink. Like, let's celebrate together for this good match. And so Montez Ford has his like prime mega solo cup with, the good stuff in it. And so he gives solo cups to the other two guys. And then, he pours them. And then they look over and they're like, oh, Gable Steveson here. He's going to be our guy. He's going to be coming over to Raw. He's our guy. Let's get him over here. So Gable, he looks around. He's like, am I allowed to jump the barrier? And so he jumps the barricade, gets in. They give him a cup. And then Chad Gable comes from out of nowhere and smacks that cup out of his hands. And then Street Profits and RK Bro very slowly get out of the ring and see how the new kid's going to handle this confrontation. And so Chad Gable gets on the mic. Gable snatches it from him. Chad snatches it back from him. And, Gable has already taken his shirt off, by the way.
Yeah.
And with his humble beast tattoo, and he's got a lion here and a bear here. And he gets on the mic and says, remember, when you're in my presence, you need to shoo. And then Gable just out of nowhere hits him with the big overhead belly to belly. And then Gable goes to the floor. Gable Steveson.
Yeah.
They're going to change Chad Gable's name.
Yeah, I think they are. They're going to have a match on Raw or something, and if Chad loses, he has to change his name.
There you go. So Steveson goes to the floor, and they all finally get their drink on there.
Yep.
All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from our sponsor, BetterHelp. People don't always recognize the physical symptoms of stress. Headaches, teeth grinding, sleeping too much or too little, and digestive issues can all be indicators of stress.
Yeah, and having dealt with anxiety for most of my adult life, I can definitely tell tales of many nights lying awake just stressing out about a variety of things. But it's moments like that where you got to remind yourself that you got to take care of yourself and try to find someone to talk to. And having gone through that process myself, I know how difficult it can be to find a therapist that you feel comfortable speaking with. But with BetterHelp, you get customized online therapy that makes that process much more convenient by offering video, phone, and even live chat therapy sessions.
So give BetterHelp a try and see if online therapy can help lower your stress. Right now, BetterHelp is offering Going In Raw listeners 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/raw. That's BetterHelp.com/raw.
Let's get a word from our sponsor, Raycon, so you know, Steve. We may be 4 months into 2022, but hey, that doesn't mean we can't all shake things up, like maybe try a new workout routine or travel someplace new. But whatever way you decide to make a change, there's no better way to do it than with a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds in your ears.
Yeah, man. Whether you're going to a new gym or traveling to a new destination, Raycon wireless earbuds are the best way to bring audio with you. And their everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever.
Yeah, they've got optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. Their earbuds fit so well, they don't budge at all. Whether I'm running or doing burpees, these things aren't moving. See, Steve?
Oh, man. You
not
are
moving
shaking
at all.
Your head. Yeah, you're shaking your head way too
I'm really
violently.
shaking my head, I know. And not only will they stay in your ears, but Raycons also give you the audio quality you need at half the price of other premium audio brands.
And right now, Going In Raw listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/raw. That's buyraycon.com/raw to save 15% on Raycons. Buyraycon.com/raw. And before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Chime. Larson,
Yeah.
you know me, man. I don't like to wait for stuff, and I really don't like to wait to get paid, especially when I've got bills due, man.
Yeah, waiting is no fun at all. But with Chime, you can get your paycheck up to 2 days early with direct deposit. That's 2 more days to save or pay bills. And while getting paid early is wonderful, there is a lot more to Chime. It's also an award-winning mobile app, checking account, debit card, and they even offer an optional savings account.
So what are you waiting for? Hopefully not your paycheck. Get started with Chime today. Applying for a free account takes less than 2 minutes and does not affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/raw. That's chime.com/raw.
Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank, N.A., members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depends on payer. Next, we had Omos versus Lashley. Now, this is kind of the litmus test. Is this going to be the start of a massive push for Omos? Or no?
No.
Or no. So Omos comes out. He's got a new tank top. Has some nice piping on it.
Yeah.
Lashley comes out with a brand new entrance. It starts the camera starts low and comes up, and he's flexing and stuff. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
It's got red and black on. He's got Wolfpack colors.
Got great gear. Everything about
no
it's
MVP.
Great.
And by the way, during the kickoff, there was an interview where he was asked about Omos. No MVP and pure, genuine babyface really Bobby
good.
Lashley.
It was really good. And
really good stuff.
I like the entrance on Lashley, or the lighting on Lashley's entrance, because it was really dramatic. It was like underlit. It was great. It was fantastic.
Is this now? I know the report was he's supposed to go away from surgery. Who knows if that's true?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that this was done specifically just for the Omos thing, or is this signaling that Roman is going to stick around as champion of Raw and SmackDown, and they're making Lashley a face, another possible opponent for the heel Roman Reigns?
I mean, coming out of WrestleMania, especially Raw's main event scene looks pretty solid. You got Lashley, you got Seth, you got Cody now. You got Edge.
Mm-hmm. You got Edge. Yeah.
The main event scene on Raw looks really good.
Mm-hmm. You still have AJ there. He's a singles guy. AJ versus Roman, something that I don't think we've seen.
Not this version of Roman. No.
Not this version of Roman. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of people there for Roman, unless they do what Meltzer suggested they might do, and that's just have him drop it. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
I was looking after the main event if there's any clues as far as how Roman would treat the belts. It's a small thing, but at the end, he held on the Universal title and handed the WWE title to Heyman.
Really? That's interesting. That is interesting.
That could be nothing or it could be something. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It would not shock me. It would not shock me if, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the smart thing would be to have Roman do that. Edge would be a killer for new Raw champion. A killer. Because he had that repackage tonight, which was just...
Apparently he's getting a faction, so you build up a baby face to take down the heel faction. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would like to see a unified champion. I think it'd be good. But Roman's going to be tied up with those titles. Maybe that'll just... I don't know. Maybe that would kill it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You got to do something with those mid-card titles if that's the case.
You got to start elevating those.
But yeah, getting back to Omos, dude. So, once we saw Lashley come out, we were kind of all like, I lowered my confidence points. I know you said you were on the verge of changing to Lashley.
Yeah, I really was. I lowered my confidence points on Omos too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't prepared to go there, but I mean, I did lower my confidence points. But we had said all along, this is going to be kind of interesting. Are they going to keep on trucking with Omos? And have him beat Lashley, and no, they didn't. What does that tell you about Omos? He's not ready to take that next step? Is that what they're thinking?
Maybe. I don't know.
Just, hey, get in there with a guy who's a dominator who, I mean, are we missing the what is it, the forest for the trees? Are they just looking at Omos as, hey, let's build this guy up so that Lashley can be a contender to Roman?
Entirely possible. Entirely possible.
Yeah.
I mean, Omos has a lot of tools. I think there's a lot of potential there for him to be a potential main eventer. I think from a character perspective, he's solid. His mic work's all right. Yeah. It's decent. If he can smooth out some of the in-ring stuff, who knows?
There's a lot. That's the main problem. There's a lot of smoothing out to do.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And he is comfortable talking, which is great. Like you said, the character stuff, he's comfortable. I don't know how you get around that in-ring stuff. Nobody wants to see that stuff, man. It's just, especially tonight. This was the most ambitious of a match he's been placed in. And like, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. I don't know what you do with that. I mean, reps for how long? Like how many years do you need reps for this?
I know.
I know. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, early on, Omos gets a lot of his stuff in. Lashley's looking for a hurt lock. Omos blocks that. Gets some more of his stuff. Eventually, he locks on a bear hug, rams Lashley into the corner, and Lashley mounts a comeback, eventually hitting a suplex, spears in the back. Apparently, I lost some of my notes here about the finish of the match, but I believe it was what? A spear? 2 spears? Get the win? Or was it just the one spear in the back?
Well, it wasn't a dominator, so it was a spear to the back, but then there was another. I think there was another spear after that. After that, we had Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Anything goes, rather.
Yeah.
Dude, this was so entertaining. Knoxville's wearing the same red and white outfit he had at the Rumble. This time he had a cape. My God, dude, there was you had a table with a bunch of rat traps glued to it. You had a giant rat trap which played into the finish. You had this device that was like a swinging leg that is designed to kick somebody in the balls.
Yeah.
You had a taser. There was, did I mention the giant hand, the giant swinging hand?
No, you didn't get to that part yet.
That was my favorite. Because here's the thing about this match that is very underrated is the TV production. WWE, rightfully so, gets a lot of shit for their TV production. Too many cuts, too many crash zooms.
Yeah.
This actually showed Kevin Dunn's fundamentals are there if you want them.
Yeah.
Because that when the giant hand came out of nowhere, like this thing's just sitting there, and they really did frame this out.
Well, I mean, if you think about it from a logical sense too, the absurdist nature of it, this giant contraption with a humongous hand that apparently Sami at no point during the match ever saw.
Right.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is a huge thing.
Yeah.
This is like a 3-foot long hand.
Yeah.
Maybe longer. This comes out, smacks him.
And it was never, I don't think it was ever actually explained how it was activated.
No, or how it got
just
there.
Went. But like, the absurdity of it is what made it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the entertainment value here.
It was basically a DDT, like an old school DDT Pro comedy match, but with a huge budget.
Yeah, right.
Or a larger budget, you know?
Yeah. Tongs to the dick. We totally got Party Boy.
Yeah, that was great.
Ripping off the pants. Pat talking about the cheeks. Mm-hmm. We had Wee Man body slamming Sami Zayn.
It was a lot of fun. It was tons of fun.
This was wildly fun.
It was.
This was wildly fun.
We could list the spots, but it wouldn't do it justice. Just go check it out.
Just go check it out. It's hilarious. And like I said, the giant mouse trap, Johnny Knoxville closed that, snapped it on Sami, and then pinned him to get the win. And then even after they all leave, Sammy's still trying to get out of it. He's selling the giant rat trap. It was a magnificent piece of comedic wrestling. It really was.
It really was. It was tons of fun. After that, we had the women's tag title bout: Sasha and Naomi versus Liv and Rhea versus Shayna and Natalya versus the champions Carmella, Zelina, Vega. I guess I should have stuck with my gut in this one. Initially, I was like, Sasha and Naomi, we're gonna win. And then they had to win on SmackDown. The go home SmackDown. That's what threw the down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
But like Naomi makes her entrance, and everybody in the crowd's got giant glow sticks. Sasha drives up in like a Volt-colored Lamborghini.
But what do we always say? Win entrances mean
such
nothing.
Thing as I know, because Liv and Rhea, they had matching like Batman, Catwoman gear. They had matching gear, and that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'll put my one confidence point on them. They got matching gear.
Yeah, I just figured Zelina was eating the pin so much, and her and Carmella was on the wrong page the entire build. I was like, oh, this is where they'll stay on the same page. Plus, we just got a wildly entertaining face win in the previous match, and that's how you balance it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I don't feel too bad about this one. I know when Naomi first came out, and I only had one confidence point on it. Naomi came out and she was doing the discount double check, and Sasha came out and that's her partner.
Yeah.
When that first started, I was like, oh, that's going to be the thing. But the more I thought about it, it was like, okay, well, hold on a second. Sasha seems more interested in being a Star Wars character right now than WWE wrestling. Who knows how long she's going to be she's going to be around.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Charlotte needs.
That's what I thought about too. Is if Ronda's done for a bit, Charlotte needs opponents, and the two most likely contenders for her title would be Sasha and Naomi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, there's like there's more depth on the women's roster on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make all the sense in the world for the belts to go to Raw.
Yeah.
The rosters, there's just a larger roster there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they didn't really build
we were wrong at all counts.
We were wrong everywhere. Maggie here brings up Sasha finally getting her Mania win, and they didn't really play that up that much. But then when you see them with the titles, it makes all the sense in the world. And this was a very fun match. I mean, they have done all sorts of permutations of these competitors in matches against each other leading up to this WrestleMania match.
So I was making such a huge point about SmackDown's the size of the women's roster on Raw and SmackDown. It's the difference of one. Just one.
Oh, okay.
Raw's got 11, SmackDown's got 10.
Okay.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm putting it through my head. They've done a really wild disservice to the Raw women's roster. Like they had Doudrop has been, and they've been fun matches, but when you have her getting beat by Bianca like 10 times over the past 3 months, Nikki ASH was nowhere to be found, which is kind of sad I don't think she's injured. But she wasn't here at Mania.
Alexa hasn't really been seen since
Alexa
Chamber.
Bliss hasn't been seen, which is nuts.
So, I mean, also on SmackDown, 2 of the 10 are Ronda, who might not be sticking around, and then Sonya Deville, who doesn't wrestle very often.
I just said, when I said Alexa's name, my thing started talking. I was like, why did that activate?
And then, all right.
Good thing she's not around. Otherwise, that'd be a problem. I'll have to deactivate that thing. So anyways, the finish saw, let's see here. Sasha hit a frog splash on Carmella, got 2 with that. locks on a bank statement. Zelina Vega pulls Mella out of the ring as Naomi's trying to get her. Sasha hits Vega with a Meteora off the apron, and then Sasha and Naomi hit their finisher, their combo finish for the win. Great looking finish too.
Yeah, it was great. A lot of fun. A really fun match. After that, we got AJ Styles versus Blue Edge, or I guess tonight was Purple Edge. Seemed like his ring gear was shout out to the Undertaker.
It's Undertaker Edge.
It's basically
it's Ministry Edge, Undertaker basically Edge, whatever you want to call it.
His jacket was very Undertaker. He had it was kind of Sephiroth too from Final Fantasy VII. He had the cape going down one shoulder.
Sure, yeah.
You know, very dramatic entrance with the throne and lighting and flames and stuff. And then AJ got an entrance, and apparently he walked into the set and busted his face open.
Was that like the most lose entrance? Because he just had a massive...
It was like a dime-sized hole it looked like in his face.
Yeah, it was huge, and it was just bleeding all over the place.
And it was already swollen up, too, by the time he got out there. And you could tell he was not happy about it.
I don't think he was happy at all.
No, he wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah. And this match took a little while to get going, but once it got going, it was pretty solid. Edge's gear looked great, though. That was really good stuff.
His gear looked great. This, Edge is capable of putting on really, really great matches. AJ, of course, is a walking great match machine.
Yeah.
This was Edge's thing, I think, right now is going to be methodical.
I think so. And this is going to be a series. I know I said the same thing when it was AJ and Nakamura after they had their Mania match. Oh, this will be a series. The blow-off match will be really good. And AJ and Nakamura's blow-off was the best of their 3 matches they had. But it paled in comparison to the work in New Japan.
Edge and Randy's second match, the greatest match ever.
Was really good.
That was a really damn good match. So if they go in that direction with this, because I probably think this is going to be a series as well.
Yeah. As long as the match is built and then the payoff is good, then fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I'll be honest, this match didn't do much for me. It really didn't. It did introduce Damian Priest. Of course, this had been reported by Fightful that there was going to be a faction involved for Edge. And Priest, I think this is a good role for him. He's been really floundering lately.
Yeah,
not doing a whole lot.
Yeah.
Ever since dropping the U.S. title, and even predating that, he got that terrible gimmick where he was,
here's the possibility of something cool that can happen out of all this. I know Priest hasn't really done much with Finn since losing that U.S. title, but what if AJ has to recruit somebody to help him take on Edge and Damian Priest?
Too sweet me, brother.
Me, brother. We get AJ and Finn teaming up to take on Edge and Priest. That might be pretty neat.
That'd be a great idea. I think that'd be really awesome. Call them the OGOC.
Oh, gosh.
That's what they're going to do. It's going to be stupid like that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it down. My bad.
It's fine.
I could have just waited until it happened, and then we could have talked about it.
We could have talked shit on Raw about it, or the Raw recap about it.
Exactly.
So AJ is going for a phenomenal forearm. Edge evades that. Edge hits AJ with a spear, or goes for a spear. AJ leapfrogs him, hits the Styles Clash. Edge kicks out. Not very many people have kicked out of the Styles Clash in WWE.
That was pretty nuts. It was pretty nuts. So AJ is looking for a phenomenal forearm, and Damian Priest just shows up at ringside. It just takes a beat. AJ looks at him. Priest is just standing there. He's not doing anything. So AJ is going for the forearm. Edge counters with the spear to get the win. Afterwards, Priest gets in the ring. And he and Edge just kind of laugh at each other. Turn to the crowd, arms raised. You were gone, but somebody in chat asked if when you and I created Going in Raw, if we stood next to each other and put our hands up. I don't recall doing that.
No, because it's been a long time. It was like on a video call because we were doing voiceover remotely with Dan Nerdcubed, and that's when the podcast was created. So we weren't even in the same room together. I remember I was in my closet. Because the audio was better in there.
The audio was better in the closet. I think I recorded a couple of voiceovers from the closet. I recorded one from the back of my car. Mm-hmm. Like Lacey and I were downtown. You were like, "Hey, I needed some pickups from you for this voiceover," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm downtown. I'll do it on my phone real quick." Coming this November, Halo, the rookie. Anyways, new faction, great. After that, who else should be in this faction, Larson?
Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One more person.
Gable Steveson. He gets like all gothy. He's like, look, guys, here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about old Gabe Steveson. I love theater. Can I be part of this new theater group that you're putting together, Edge? And he's like, well, it's not really a... Yes, you can be part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be in our theater group. He's like, hey, boss, come on. This is Gable Steveson. He's a big deal.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, Dave.
Exactly.
Yes, we love theater.
Well, I mean, Edge is an actor now, so.
What? You said actor.
Yeah.
I'm an actor. He is an actor.
After that, we had Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus The New Day. The New Day came out in Big E gear. The singlet, the robe.
It was beautiful.
It was amazing.
They were doing the thing, the wiggle,
and they still had him lose.
Was it like a 2-minute match?
It was super short, and it was all.
And as it gets worse, go ahead.
So New Day they attack Sheamus and Ridge before the bell. Bell rings. Kofi hits Ridge with Trouble in Paradise, and Sheamus breaks up that pin. And then for a good minute and a half, Sheamus is totally completely distracted by Pete Dunne just being an absolute hothead ringside. He's like trying to get in the ring to attack somebody, and Sheamus literally has to pick him up and hold him back.
Like he's a little kid.
Yes.
Like he's a child, yeah.
So, Kofi is going looking for a double axe handle, and then off the ring steps on the floor, Sheamus hits him with a brogue kick. And so Pete Dunne gets on, since Sheamus now isn't holding Pete Dunne, Pete Dunne gets on the apron to distract the ref. Sheamus gets the ring, hits Xavier Woods with a brogue kick, and the Ridge hits his finish to get the win. And afterwards, Pete Dunne gets the ring and starts punching Woods a little bit, and then Ridge and Sheamus literally have to pick him up and hold him back.
Nothing. If we actually get to the point where we see Butch wrestle, he's going to have to change up his whole style to remain in character. And that's a shame because he's like a world-class wrestler.
I know.
It is honestly a tragedy. Like, I don't know somebody who's been booked as a character so diametrically different, so completely the opposite of what they were before.
I know.
As Pete Dunne as Butch. It's not just a name change.
No, it's a complete character. I mean, like, at least Walter. Gunther is still Walter at everything but name. Well, most things but name. You know, like they've...
No, he is. There's a... And I get that with Pete Dunne, the idea was it's still Pete Dunne. But clearly, they're retconning that out.
Yeah.
This is a new person.
Yeah.
The whole bit about you used to know him by a different name. No, he didn't.
No, not this character.
I don't know who this guy is.
Don't know who this character is.
But no, Gunther he's just Walter. Walter, he explained it. He's like, hey, my grandpa was Walter, but I'm not, or something. I don't know what it was.
It was his grandfather was Gunther, and he was one that introduced him to wrestling.
Okay.
Because what he said at first, it was what you said, and then the next week commentary said is what I said.
Yeah, they had to wreck on that too. Okay. Yeah. Even he was confused. Yeah, it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total shame.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, Conan comes in and he's Max Moon shame.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of on the same, although they probably let Max Moon wrestle the way Conan does.
Probably.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy.
It is crazy and it's lame. Let Pete Dunne be Pete Dunne. After that, we had Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee, and Vince McMahon comes down the ring. Introduces Austin Theory as a future Universal Champion, not just WWE Champion or future champion, future World Champion, Universal Champion. So Austin Theory.
He's on Raw.
Yeah.
That's something. Well, no, man, there's got to be something to that, man.
I guess Austin Theory's beating Roman Reigns. There we go. We have it confirmed by the chairman himself.
Right there on TV.
Right there.
Yeah.
So Austin Theory comes to the ring, takes a selfie with Vince. They ponied up some money to get 7 Nation Army for Pat McAfee's entrance. And so the whole crowd's singing along. He's got the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders with him. Somebody hands him a football. He punts it into the crowd.
Oh, and it goes deep.
Well, he's an all-decade punter.
You never know, man. He got a pressure situation. He's got jeans on.
Some telling me Pat McAfee does not feel pressure.
Yeah, right. I think that part is disconnected in his brain, man. This was beautiful. This was awesome. Yeah.
This was tons of fun.
Yeah. So anyways, he punts it. So the match happens. Pat has a fast start. They go at it a little bit. There's a couple impressive bits from Pat McAfee. He hits a Rana. He still has really impressive leaping ability.
Yeah, no. He's a really good athlete.
No, he is. He totally is, yeah. Hit some suplexes. Let's see here. He shoulder tackles Theory off the apron onto the announce table. Pat puts on a headset, grabs a drink, pours it over Matt. He pours the ice over his head, starts slamming his head in the announce table, puts Theory back in the ring. Pat goes up top, and he goes for a swanton. Just eats Matt. And this was he got some air on this thing.
Yeah, he did.
Theory hits a belly to back. It's 2 with that. Theory goes up top. Pat hits him, looks for a superplex. Theory fights him off. Pat does a flip off the top and sticks it. Completely lands on his feet. Hits Theory with this. Goes back up. Hits Theory with a superplex. He gets 2 with that. Pat goes for a punt. He misses that. A punt on Austin Theory.
Not on the football.
Right, not on a football this time. Let's see here. And then Theory eventually looks for his finish, A-Town down, and Pat reverses that into a roll-up for the win. Then Vince walks over to Pat, and then Pat goes over he tells Vince, because Vince is like yelling at Theory, and then he yells at Pat. Pat tells Vince, hey, come on, get in the ring then, old man. And Vince's like, me? And he sort of starts to take off his jacket. Crowd pops big. He puts it back on, starts to walk, and then thinks about it again. Pat jaws at him some more. Then he takes off his jacket. Crowd's starting to get a little hype for this. And then he rips off his shirt, and he's got that tank top under.
Yeah, they used to wrestle in. I know. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
He gets in the ring. Ref gets in the ring. And mind you, like, commentary's as confused as we are. We're like, what's going on? Why is there a ref in the ring?
Yeah.
And so the ref gets in the ring. And then as they're talking shit, Theory comes over from behind, lays out Pat. Vince tells him to leave. Bell rings. We have a match. Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee.
And this was utterly ridiculous because Vince had some of the I understand he's 75 years old, so.
Oh, but this relates to the theory that we were talking about yesterday.
As you get older in pro wrestling, you get stronger, yes, because Vince was hitting Pat with some pretty weak-looking shots.
Oh, I don't know. Those clotheslines look pretty. They look decent. Pat was selling. Pat was
selling them.
Yeah.
But Vince was taking 2 steps and just kind of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as Pat was selling them, yeah. So he would hit a clothesline, slam Pat's head into the corner, hit another clothesline, same thing. Pat gets to his feet. He tells Vince, come on, let's go. Theory trips him up, crotches him around the ring post, and then Vince gets the football and teases like he's going to kick it into the crowd. Instead, he kicks the football into Pat's midsection and covers him to get the win.
Yeah. Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous, but it was hilarious.
The premise of a 75-year-old dude in the ring who's was never a wrestler. Never a wrestler. I mean, he wrestled. Yeah. Never a good wrestler.
Yeah.
From a fundamental technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Gets in the ring.
But in the same respect, and I know there are massive differences, obviously, but it's also pretty ridiculous that a guy Sting's age at 62 would be no-selling big moves from guys 30 years.
I'm not saying I can't appreciate the ridiculousness of it. But it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's completely ridiculous. But therein lies the entertainment value in a lot of pro wrestling. The entertainment lies in the ridiculousness.
Totally. So Vince tells the Theory, hey, go pose in the corner for the crowd. And then Theory does that for a bit. And then he asks Vince for a hug. And Vince hugs him. Mm-hmm. Glass breaks. Stone Cold comes out. So he comes to the ring, and he's giving Vince a bunch of shit about the Pat McAfee stuff, Theory, whatnot. And Theory tries to take a shot at Stone Cold. Bad move. He gets a stunner. Sells it like an absolute champ. He tries to outdo The Rock. He does like 2 flips.
Bouncing all over the place.
It was great.
Yeah.
And so Vince is pleading with Austin, don't stun me. And Stone Cold's like, hey, how about we have a beer? And Vince at first is hesitant, and he's like, okay.
You're not going to beat me up.
So they get beers.
Just a beer.
Vince cracks it open and just leans over. Here, I have my beer can from earlier and does this.
Yeah. He because Austin wants the toast.
Yeah.
And Vince is like, wait. And he wants to taste it first.
Yeah.
So he goes, and then he's like, hey, it's good.
And he nods his head, and then they toast. They drink some beer. Guess what? He gets the stunner too.
Okay, but let's talk about this stunner really quick, Larson. This is brilliant. On Friendo on Overrun this week, We might have to do a frame-by-frame analysis of this stunner.
We think we do. Because it was.
I got to write this down because that's a great idea.
Between kick to the gut and actual stunner, there's a good 25 seconds that elapsed.
So he kicks him in the gut, but Vince, in selling the gut kick, number one, doesn't really sell it. He starts to stumble around a bit, and he sort of bounces off the ropes. Austin's already laughing at this situation because he's just trying to get his damn neck to crank him for a stunner.
Yeah.
And so finally he does, and it's on par with the worst of the Vince stunner sells.
Oh, yeah.
He just sort of falls like a sad sack of potatoes, literally out of his shoe.
Yeah.
Austin is laughing his ass off. He is, and I don't think, by the way, Austin realized that Vince was going to do the sippy thing first because he was cracking up. You could always tell when it's legitimate.
Yeah.
He was cracking up at the sippy stuff. So Vince he sells this stunner in the worst way. He invites Pat McAfee to the ring. Austin does.
Yeah.
Because Vince is taken care of, and he rolls out of the ring, and there's people attending to him. Pat comes into the ring. Austin hands him some beers. They pose in the corners. You think everything's fine. Of course, we know better. Drink some more beers. Of course, Stone Cold hits him with a stunner. Pat does a really great sell job.
He falls on his back and just spits beer everywhere. It was great.
He does the fountain. He spits beer everywhere. And so Austin he is laughing his ass off, drinking beers. And then the camera cuts to Pat after about 3 minutes or so, and he's just dead on the ground, but he's got a beer, and it's over him, and it's just like pouring into his mouth.
It was great.
While he's selling the stunner.
It was great. Brilliant.
It was wildly hilarious.
It was really great. After that, we get Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, our main event. So Roman's out first. He just tells the crowd to acknowledge him. And when the bell rings, Brock immediately takes off his fight gloves. Because he's been saying, I'm coming for blood, Roman. Maybe if they'd actually followed through, I know they don't do blood anymore. If they'd actually at least followed through on that story.
Do blood. You got the stroke. Do the blood.
And that's the story. It's like Brock for the longest time. It's like I want to unify the titles. I want to take what's most important to you, Roman. They shifted from that for Brock saying, "I'm coming for blood now. You busted me open. I'm going to bust you open now."
Yeah, right.
And they didn't even follow through on that.
Yeah,
disappointing. Anyways, this is a typical Roman Brock match. It's a bunch of finishers, a bunch of spears and suplexes and F5s. So down the stretch, Brock's looking for another F5. Roman rakes Brock in the eyes, spears Brock into the ref, hits a low blow, gets the title from Heyman, blasts Brock with it, gets the ref up, covers Brock. Brock kicks out. So then Roman hits kind of like an awkward looking spear on Brock from behind, covers, but they're right next to the rope, so Brock grabs it. Roman hits another spear, but then Brock locks on a Kimura. And Roman's selling it, trying to get to the ropes. Heyman pushes the rope just a little bit closer so Roman could grab it. And so Roman's talking to Heyman. He says, I think my shoulder's out. My shoulder's out from the Kimura. So Brock hits him up for an F5. Roman escapes that and hits another spear to get the win. Like, we didn't have like a guillotine maybe finish. Like, remember when Undertaker beat Brock after Brock broke the streak and he had him in Hell's Gate and Brock couldn't escape and he just flipped off Undertaker, did the defiant finish and passed out. We didn't even get that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Now, I mean, at this point with these guys, we've seen each of them eat their respective finishers. And Roman's got the spear. He's got the Superman punch. I mean, I know these days it's mainly the spear, and then he's got, like you said, the submission thing. That it's sort of meaningless these days. It's not like there's a move where it's like, oh my God, he just hit that. He's going to win now. It's like, all right, so which number spear is this? How many more is it going to take? And that's why I was hoping they would bring something new to this. Because even with you just mentioned the Undertaker stuff, they did do something kind of new each time they fought. Granted, it was only like 3 times, but still, I mean, these guys have done what, I don't know, 6, 7 big time matches.
6th pay-per-view match, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. And then, Roman holds up both titles. We got the W Wrestling thumbnail. And then that's it. Highlight some of your questions here in the chat. We'll stick around and answer some of them. Let's see here. It's Just Vernon asks, between the two of you, who can sell the Stone Cold Stunner better?
It depends if we have just played basketball or not. Because if we have just played basketball, I will probably sell a stunner like Vince. I'll just collapse. If my knees are feeling good, feeling fresh, I might have a Pat McAfee selling me.
I think I could coordinate enough to do the Pat McAfee. I don't think one of us would do it better than the other. You might be a bit more hesitant because you have neck issues.
I have a bad neck, yeah.
I might be a little less hesitant, so maybe I'd have the advantage, but I don't know. Let's see here.
Mayor Planet Houston, what were your favorite matches from any promotion that happened during Mania weekend? The two that stick out the most are Bianca and Becky from last night, and then FTR and the Briscoes from Supercard of Honor.
Yeah, I don't think anything else really. Yeah, that's going to be the two for me. I mean, in terms of matches, in terms of entertainment value, that Knoxville match was something else.
That was fun.
But no, honestly, I haven't even had time to watch many of the other matches that have gone down in the other promotions. I know GCW had 12 shows or something.
Shows, I know. Mm-hmm. Zoe Jeremy, who dethroned Roman? Steiner? Braun Breaker? No, I don't think so.
I have a really hard time thinking that they see him the way they see Gable Steveson.
Yeah.
I think Gable Steveson might be too new. I mean, Roman might. I don't know, man. They push people hard sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Drew kicked out of an End of Days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be.
No, it's either going to be.
Here's the bigger question, dude. Do you think they know? Do you think they have any ideas? Do you think they have a short list?
I think they would probably like Gable to be the guy. Gable Steveson.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends if he is the guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I could see Austin Theory being the guy if they were going to go another year or two.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit for Austin Theory to get to that point.
I mean, sometimes it's a flip of the switch. Like Cena, it was like, boom, they found it and they locked it in.
Mm-hmm. But it was still a year or so or more than that before he won the world title. He had a U.S. title run before he, got to that level.
But I mean, he debuted in 2002.
Yeah.
And he had the U.S. title in 2004.
Yeah.
And then the world title in 2005. That's 3 years.
Yeah.
Let's see here. White Brownie. Yeah. Tomorrow, does Cody interact with Roman, or do we get a build towards a rematch with Seth for Backlash? I assume Backlash is all rematches.
I know. That's my assumption.
I know it was half rematches last year. But yeah.
Midnight Fowler with Vader and the Steiner brothers both in. Is there anyone left from WCW to induct in the Hall of Fame?
Sid. I like that you consider Sid from WCW.
He did. Well, he had a couple runs at WCW.
No, I know, but he also had a couple. He was a very much. He was like the Monday Night Wars guy. He was just boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Let's see here. Lou says this WrestleMania felt different, almost like the start of a new era for WWE. Or am I reading too much into this because WrestleMania was better than years past?
I think this is an instance where they were just trying to throw as much stuff at this Mania as possible, just to make it seem like a huge deal.
I think that's their thing. I think that's what they're going to do. I think they might. It'll be interesting to see if they start to inch towards SummerSlam in the same respect. Mm-hmm. If they're going to start trying to make that, okay, we've got WrestleMania and then in August, but I kind of feel like it's always going to be WrestleMania is going to be the thing that no matter what, they're going to do the best they can to bring what they do best, because they don't really do weekly television all that great. But I don't think they really endeavor to be honest.
No, I don't think they do either, really. John Elite, with Cody showing up last night, should AEW be mentioned in any capacity whatsoever? If they didn't mention him last night, they probably aren't going to mention him. Period. Cody, when he does his promo on Monday, might reference them on air. Like all the interviews he's done, the digital exclusive, he hasn't, named the company by name, but he's referenced them. So
they should, but he's not going to.
Yeah,
but they should. I wish they weren't so weird about stuff like that.
I know. Bear winning, was Mania 38 in your top 5 Manias of all time? Also, should Pat become a full-time active wrestler? Pat should do whatever Pat wants to do.
I want Pat on commentary.
So
as a fan, I want him on commentary. I don't want him to be wrestling. I think his body probably got, even though he was a punter, his body probably got plenty beat up in the NFL. I would think that his bump card from that is probably fairly full.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, a match for Pat McAfee, great. I love him on commentary.
Oh, he's so good. As far as this being top 5 Mania of all time, I had to think about it because you got 30. Simply because we were there, 31's on the list for me.
31 was a good one, though. 31
show.
was a good one. I thought 35 was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Kofi Mania. You had Becky at the end. Oh, that was a really solid one.
Of course, you got 17. You got 19.
I'd have to. Yeah, like you said, I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it too.
Burr Winning says, "How long until they ununify the titles?" Let me ask you this: if they ununify the titles, what's more likely? Tomorrow, or 3 months from now?
It very well might be tomorrow.
I kind of feel like it's going to be this week or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of leaning towards it's either going to be this week or it's not going to be, or it's not going to happen. He's either going to come out tomorrow and say a contractual obligation doesn't include Raw. I'm SmackDown guy. Fox wanted me. And then he just like drops the title and leaves.
I know. Notorious LFG says, do you think that night 1 will remain the wrestling night and night 2 will be the entertainment night?
No, I think that they're just they're probably just going to try to give a little bit of both on both shows. I mean, dude, it's not like Edge versus AJ wasn't a wrestling match.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's plenty of wrestling tonight.
There was plenty of wrestling tonight. There was plenty of wrestling yesterday. I think that they try to even out the entertainment value with the wrestling stuff. Let's see here. Nightfall says, I think the last 2 Manias were great. I loved last year's Mania. I remember last year's Mania. I liked it. I liked night 1 better than night 2, but I think I remember night 2 being all right.
Yeah, night 1 was fun last year.
Mm-hmm.
Night 2 got off to a bad foot last year when they had Orton beat The Fiend.
Oh, that was booty. Yeah, it was. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Twitch chat, stick around for a little bit. We're going to find somebody to raid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We will be back tomorrow with our WrestleMania Fallout news brief episode.
We'll talk Stand and Deliver then, too.
And we'll review Stand and Deliver. That's absolutely correct. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.